Hey there, good evening. Welcome to the Bronx Buzz. This is Bronx Net's program where we talk to reporters, writers, editors, journalists, and tonight, DJs. And that's why we changed our background. And this is actually a picture of my record collection in my living room. A lot of people don't know my background is as a radio DJ. And so I'm going to greet a brother in arms, so to speak. It is my buddy Darren DeVivo. Everybody knows him from WFUV. It's a pleasure to have you, Darren.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Gary. And you're talking here, and I'm actually looking past your head, trying to see if I can make out any of the records.
Well,
I can't, but I'm very impressed at the alphabetical order and the dividers that you have there. I see S sticking out.
Yes, those were stolen from a radio station somewhere along the way. I promise you. So just listen. Let's just set the stage. I was a progressive rock DJ for 15 years. I worked at a number of stations. We'll talk about that. Darren started at WFUV, and he gave me the exact date. It was February 26, 1984. I actually started August 1st, 1976. So but that's only because I'm a little older, apparently. I didn't start when I was 9. But just talk to me how you got into it. How did you become an air personality at WFUV?
It's really I've been very, very lucky, and I'm very, very fortunate of the way things played out for me. I'm from the Bronx, obviously, originally, and
Morris Park.
The Morris Park section of the Bronx. And it was probably when I was in high school, I became aware of the fact that...
Is that Lehman High School?
No, I went to high school in New Rochelle.
Oh, how interesting. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt. I'm just curious.
That's fine. I don't remember the thinking process behind why I opted to go to Salesian High School in New Rochelle. I was a Salesian Eagle, but there's so many Bronx kids that we would bus up together to Salesian. You kind of were sort of in the Bronx.
Right. But anyway, so what made you say DJ, music, radio, something?
Well, it was probably when I was in high school, I became aware of the fact that Fordham University had a college station, and yes. I do not recall whether or not I knew what college radio was about. I think I had a sense, because I also found out that WFUV at Fordham was not a small campus station.
Compared
to be aware.
Compared to where I started at WHLC at Lehman College, which was a 50-watt AM 590 AM channel, which, right. Like you could get it maybe halfway around the reservoir.
Right. So I was aware. I remember always being aware that WFUV was a large station. And I just, you know what? I can't play an instrument. I couldn't think of anything else to do.
And that's what happened to me.
Yeah. I'll play records.
So you have also worked a number of different time slots. I found in my broadcast radio career that the different time slots, and I worked daytimes, I worked evenings, I worked late evenings, gave me a different perspective of life. Like your waking hours were when many people were sleeping, or you were awake talking to people who were working, mm-hmm. And I felt it gave me a perspective on life. What about, do you share that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it just works out. Of course, it's been 40 years at WFUV for me, back to college FUV of the 80s. And then the university, this is a long story, but they made a transition right at the end of the 80s, 1990, and created the FUV that exists today, which is different from the college days. And once the 90s set in and I got, quote unquote, hired as a professional at the new FUV, I bounced around a year doing afternoon drive, 9 years doing morning drive, 12 years in middays, evenings, and now late night.
And so now you're doing late nights from what, 10 to 2?
Late nights, 10 to 2, Monday through Thursday, and I come out. The sun is out on Saturday afternoons from 1 to 4, and I found that you had to be a different type of announcer depending on the type of the day.
Absolutely.
And not being a morning person, my 9 years of doing morning drive, I also had to be a good actor.
Yeah.
And figure out ways to act awake.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I mean, I fully understand it. I remember a sign on the on-air light at one of the stations I worked at that said, "Who are you talking to?" And so you had to remember, if you're on late at night, you got to deal with that. We have so much we can review. I want to do photographs first. So Anderson, you have a photograph of me, and this is from 1978. At what was the Left Bank in Mount Vernon. This is me in the middle of Joan Jett and the Blackhearts.
Wow.
She came to, well, so that photograph was taken backstage at the Left Bank in Mount Vernon. Joan Jett and the Blackhearts came to promote. I was working at WRNW in Westchester. I was the program director, and she came to promote her first album and was giving out albums out of the back of her Cadillac. And I introduced them at the Left Bank, and so I had a lot more hair, and there you go.
You looked like a Blackheart there.
Well, I'm wearing the black. I wore the black shirt to be rock and roll just for you, my friend. And now here's the next one. This is backstage at the Madison Square Garden for the Rumors tour and Fleetwood Mac. And I'm there, the second on the left. With the mustache, you can see Stevie Nicks, Christine McVie, and Mick Fleetwood. The rest are all record people, I guess. Maybe
very cool. Right.
People.
Pretty close to Christine McVie there, I see.
Yes,
always my favorite of the.
Well,
of the
my friend was with me, and he cornered Stevie Nicks at one point, and I was like, "How could he possibly be rapping to Stevie Nicks? Is he crazy?" Anyway, so I only did that because I've never shown those on television. I've been on television here at BronxNet for 30 years, and I've never shown those. Anyway, you have pictures of some really incredible people.
Yeah.
Anderson, through the magic of TV, not radio, can we take a look? Here we go. This is the late Robbie Robertson.
Yeah.
When was this?
This was recent. This was 2019, and I think we were only a couple of months away from COVID at this point. This picture was taken, and this was the second time I met him at FUV. I had interviewed him about good 7 or so years earlier. Someone else did the interview, but I went in the studio and was knocked out that he remembered me after all those years.
Did he really? Wow.
And he knew my name. Wow. And I can't remember people I spoke to yesterday, and he remembered.
Right. Wow.
And that was a thrill.
That was a thrill. Just curious, did he talk about the issues between him and Levon or anything like that?
When I interviewed him, yeah, I think we did touch on it, but I always tried to keep it. You're here to plug a solo record, and but we touched on it. I don't really recall the conversation. Okay. He seemed very sorry that the situation was not. Got
it. I just want to move ahead before we run out of time. Yeah. Let's do the next one. And this, of course, is a Bronx photo. You look, frankly, a touch younger. This is, of course, Dion DiMucci, Dion in the Belmont, also in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Any words about our friend Dion?
Yeah, I did say to Dion, the Yankee hat, and he's about to punch me for commenting on his Yankee hat. No, I'm kidding. That one I was a little starstruck. He was up there. Someone else was talking to him. I broke into the studio for the photo. And he's a hero, so I had to.
And speaking of heroes, this last one I took a double take, a triple take, a quadruple take. I believe he's one of the greatest drummers of all time. Go ahead, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't recognize that guy.
No. That's Ringo. You're wearing the hat, dude.
That's Ringo Starr, and that was in 2003 in the Carlisle.
Wow.
The only time they've ever let me in the Carlisle. And I interviewed him. He was promoting his album Ringo Rama in 2003. Right. He was a great guy. About midway through the interview, I calmed down. And then as soon as the 20 minutes were up that I was given, Ringo was out of that room in a flash.
Yeah. My son would always say to me, was he nervous? Not likely. Darren may have been a little nervous.
I was, yeah.
Oh,
but he was a very nice guy.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I needed about half that time to kind of land in my seat.
Darren, we could do a 4-hour show, and we got about 3 minutes left. I want to ask you this about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Now, I see that DJ Kool Herc won a Musical Influence Award. That's, of course, very personal to us here in the Bronx. But I'm curious about Willie Nelson being in there. And then, of course, there was a bit of a controversy when Dolly Parton was entered in there. Do you think that, diminishes the effectiveness of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame to be that broad, and it becomes kind of a music Hall of Fame?
It started out as one thing, and they allowed it to become something else. And I think, and I've thought this for a while now, that they need to rename the museum and the actual institution. It's no longer a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but like music, there's genres, there's subdivisions of genres, and you can't pigeonhole and say this isn't rock and roll and this is. It's got to be, generally speaking, a music institution so that you can bring in all these other styles.
I mean, just this year, Chaka Khan, the Spinners, Don Cornelius. Now, he's well known not for rock and roll specifically. Last question, and you're wearing the Beatles hat. There was a new record, a new song from the Beatles. Two, of course, are gone, called Now and Then. I have some feelings about it. We got about a minute left. What do you think?
It gave me chills when I first heard it. It brought tears to my eyes. It's beautiful. It is almost like a message from John Lennon and George Harrison from another dimension. Yeah. It is beautiful, and I'm very happy they did do it. I was skeptical at first when I heard they were going back to it after so many years, because they started it in the mid-90s, building it as a Beatles song. Two songs did come out, and this was the third one.
I'll give you my interpretation of it, and I think I may have shared this with you on Facebook. If you were looking for Hey Jude, stop it. You're not.
No, right. No,
it's not happening.
Yeah.
But if you're looking for Paul and Ringo to say, we want to kind of close the ribbon on the top of the box and say this is our our vault, then this was appropriate and fine.
Yeah,
and of
absolutely.
course you can't say. Listen, Darren, I don't know, play some Allman Brothers for me tonight, all right?
You got it.
Do you get to choose?
No.
Yeah. Times have changed.
Times have changed. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Which is how I got all these records. The great Darren DeVivo, listen to him on WFUV. Weeknights, 10 to 2?
10 to 2, Monday through Thursday, 1 to 4, Saturday afternoons.
There you go. Beautiful. So when you're in your car going shopping, it's Darren DeVivo time on Saturday. Thank you, my brother.
All right.
And we're going to take a break, and we're going to do hip hop right after this. Don't go away.
Dear moms and dads, what you have achieved here today is going to help us and our futures. It is why we are coming up on stage to collect your diplomas.
You know it's true.
Mom, we love you always.
Everything I do.
When you graduate, they graduate. Visit finishyourdiploma.org to find free and supportive adult education centers near you.
Every day, thousands of kids start vaping. And I can't let this happen to my kid. Of course, it's awkward to talk to your kids about the dangers of vaping. Hey, bestie, how's sketches, vaping? It's hard to get their attention. Ready? Go. Yes, look at that. You didn't turn yours over. So if you want to talk to your kids about the dangers of vaping, you have to get it trending. Right, Backpack Kid?
Let's do it.
First, invite your kid to do the vape talk. Let's try this. All right.
Why is he here?
Yeah, I gotta get it trending, honey.
Come on.
To the left. To the right. Let's go.
Oh, honey, can we talk?
Yeah, what's up?
I see a lot of your friends vaping.
Visit talkaboutvaping.org for tips on when and how to have the vape talk.
¿Qué color? Perfecto, mijo. Gracias. Thank you. What's wrong, mijo?
Donating to a pet's medical care is one of the many ways you can help families in your community. Pets and people belong together. Learn more at petsandpeopletogether.org.
Okay, back with you on the Bronx Buzz. I am having fun today. I'm in my element with my music and my people. And now I really am with my people. Let's say good evening to Félix Arocho, who's the director of the Hostos Center for the Arts and Culture. Nice to see you, Félix.
Nice to see you, Gary.
And if I have to introduce Joe Conzo Jr., the hip hop photographer, the EMS guy who's just one of our heroes to people in the Bronx at this point, it's a shame. But it is Joe Conzo Jr. Nice to have you. Nice to see you. I remember the last time you were here, we talked to your pop, which was a lot of fun. That was good.
Yes.
Anyway, how are you? Yes, Joe, you good?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Great. Félix, I attended, you know that I attended, Joe knows that I attended the Born in the Bronx, the beginning of the global hip hop culture exhibit at the Hostos Community College. That is just fantastic. I'll explain why I liked it, but tell me all about it. What's the deal?
This is a great opportunity for educating the students here at the college, here in the South Bronx, about the beginnings of hip hop. And who else but Joe Conzo Jr., who was there at its birth. And I believe the New York Times called Joe, the photographer that was at the baby pictures of hip hop.
He took them all. What do you mean the baby pictures? He took them all.
Exactly. So he took them all. And we had wanted to do a hip hop exhibit. And Joe Conzo, came through wonderfully, along with his co-curator, Johan Kugelberg. And it's an opportunity to learn about the beginnings of how the youth here in the South Bronx came together during struggle, during that period in the 70s when they turned the culture around. They also invested in fashion, in memorabilia, in records, and in the sound of this new sound that became a global phenomenon. So it all started here in the South Bronx. Hostos Community College is in the South Bronx, is an anchor institution in the South
You
Bronx.
had to do it.
And we had to do it.
But I want to emphasize what you mentioned because I think it's so important. Yes, we know the music. I mean, I've interviewed DJ Kool Herc, and he told me that moment when he said, "I think I got something," which is kind of incredible. But which you portrayed perfectly was the culture. Is that it was larger. It was a new way of looking. It was a new look at clothes. It was a new style of dancing, graffiti art. I mean, there's 100 things that happened. And I'll just give you an aside, kind of the news journalist aside. Last week, we did an interview with a journalist who talked about the South Bronx economy doing better. And they credited the resiliency of the communities in the South Bronx. And a lot of that is because they redefined their lives, they redefined their music, they redefined the culture. And when you do that and everybody's on board, 50 years later, we're still talking about it. Right? I mean, am I taking the interview away, Félix?
No.
This is what we got to talk about, right?
I agree. It was a transformation. No, it was a transformation of poetry, music, fashion, this expression of life and struggle. And from vinyl records, from handmade flyers, like you said, graffiti, breakdancing, DJing, everything was to showcase the diversity of these elements of hip hop and really how they shaped the Bronx and the entire world. And Joe Conzo was there.
And Joe was there. So a couple of questions for you, Joe. When you were taking these photographs, which you were doing because it was your community, and like, wow, this is pretty cool. I think I'm just making the judgment. Did you say this even think this is going to get large or this is going to get larger, or was it just like, wow, this is happening? So I'm the photographer. I'll take the pictures.
Gary, I had no idea. Honestly, I was a budding young photographer.
At what age? At what age?
I picked up the camera at a young age of 11, 12 years old. I have a report card that says Joe is excelling in photography. But again, I had no idea. I was just taking pictures of the elements around me. My high school schoolmates invited me one night up to take pictures of this group that they were putting together, and the rest is history. You know, my archives that presently sit in Cornell University are some of the earliest images of the culture of hip hop.
And so it just became that. Now, I would love to get your perspective on this. I can't remember who was it that said it to me, but now I do know, and I'm not going to say it out loud who it was, but they said we got the celebrations of the 50th anniversary, and I realized there was that event in Crotona Park, and I was there, and you know, that was us doing our thing, but they said the rest of the world is going to go away afterwards. You know, now we're going to get the museum. We know that on the Harlem River over there. We know all about that. Are you concerned that this was kind of one of those American capitalist celebrations, and we in the Bronx will keep it going because that's who we are, and the rest of the world will say, oh, okay.
Listen, you know, the culture changed many, many years ago when the big record companies got involved. Okay, because during my time as a young teenager, it wasn't about a record deal. It wasn't about the bling or anything like that. It was about the next jam, next Friday night, next Saturday night, next park jam, next, you know, high school jam. That's what it was about. So, yeah, it's been bastardized, so to speak, if that's even a word.
Yes.
And after this year, America will probably, well, corporate America will probably move on to the next thing.
Move on to the next thing. Yeah.
But the people in the Bronx,
No, absolutely.
we're good.
Oh yeah, right.
Every year.
I totally get that. And you're mentioning the record companies that came in, and that's what changed it. You know, around the world, people think there are people, obviously it could be racist, you can call it whatever you want, think it's like some negative thing. But all of the people I have met who were originators in hip hop did it for togetherness, did it for peace, did it for dancing together, did it for all the right values. And then once those record companies came in and other people came in with other values, they forgot who we are in the Bronx.
But that's
right?
true of any genre
Yes.
of music. And if you're talking about genre of music, my dad, Joe Conzo Sr., used to tell me stories how Tito Puente is more famous in Europe than he is here in the States.
Right.
John Coltrane, all these legends moved to Europe because they're more appreciated over there. And you know that term, the ugly American, we discard everything that's old because we're always looking for something new.
Right.
And like
But, you know, you gotta go in the other direction, because the Beatles took American music and came here. Yes, they were appreciated in England. We get that. But here's where it exploded, of course. So that's kind of the opposite. Anyway, Felix, just back to the event. So, or to this exhibit, how's it been received over there?
Fantastic. We had a great opening, and thank you so much for being there. Great opening. We had over 200 people that night, and every day we get visitors coming into the art gallery, signing up.
From all over the world.
From all over the world. There was
amazing.
Someone in Japan just a couple of weeks ago who even asked Joe to meet in person. And Joe was very kind to come to the gallery and meet with this person. That's how connected Joe is to this. So we have a great response to this. The college community has responded excellently to this. The outside community as well. Our residents, the neighborhood around us, and also the schools. We are getting.
Oh, I'm happy to hear that.
We are getting school groups who are coming to the shows. For instance, the South Bronx High School. There was another request by the Mott Haven Academy to bring their students here. So we are in the process of doing guided tours and bringing these students to learn about.
You know, I got to tell you, Felix, my heart almost skipped a beat there, because the beauty of music, the beauty of Bronx music, is that it's just so much larger than, just playing records. And for young people who didn't live through it or didn't grow up through it and didn't understand it, they can get an education about history, about culture, about their neighborhoods. And so many of them come from other places. And, what is this very complicated place called the Bronx? And this is how they learn. So when you told me that school groups are coming through, I'm all for it. So this goes till.
I want to say something quick, Gary. One of the first schools that wanted to bring their students was the South Bronx High School.
Okay.
And they made a point to say, this is the school that Joe attended.
My old alma mater.
Now, Joe,
happy about that.
how old? We could do the math on the 50 years, but how old were you when you started taking some of these archival
I'm not
photos?
afraid or ashamed to say I'm 60 years old.
Okay.
So I started my journey into photographing the culture at about 16, 17 years old when I met.
So that's high school.
High school, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So when I went to school with two of the pioneers of the culture, Easy AD and Tony Tone of the Colkirch Brothers.
Oh, really? That's great.
And they invited me to take pictures of this group that they were forming. And the rest is history.
Do you still take pictures actively? If I recall, when we were at Lincoln Center for Bobby Sanabria's West Side Story, so do you take pictures all the time, or just of special events? Or
I always have a camera with me. So whether I'm not at a special event or I'm going to a special event, I have a camera. Over the summer, I'm the official photographer for LL Cool J and Rock the Bells Festival, so I shot that.
Great.
I just shot my dad's.
And listen, Joe is a 9/11 hero, is a former EMS guy, and so you're the full package. We're so thrilled that you were with us, Felix. Let's wrap it up. So the thing goes till Wednesday the 20th, and the admission charge is exorbitant.
It's free. It's free admission. How exorbitant can you get?
What I loved, aside from just being there, and obviously I've been doing this here on BronxNet for 30 years, seeing some of my old friends, and not only people in music, but hanging out with Tat's crew. I haven't seen them in a while, and a lot of the other people there's a brotherhood or sisterhood. I mean, what it's about.
At the opening event, young and old.
Yes, and I saw parents. I saw parents with their kids, and that's what. Listen, Joe Conzo, thank you so much. You know how we feel. And Felix, I feel the same way. That's it. We're all part of it.
We feel the same way with you, Gary. Thank you.
Hostos Community College, born in the Bronx, the beginning of global hip hop culture. Stop by, learn, love, and be it. That's what we do. So that's it. Thank you so much to Darren from WFUV. I got to do a music show. Woo! So if the curtain don't fall and the creek don't rise, yes, I will be back. We will be back next week. And I'll have the different background. We'll put the Bronx back up there. Good.